Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the core definition of madness. Expecting things to change when nothing ever changes will drive a person to madness whether they are aware of this fact or not. It changes nothing. If you ignore a fire, you will still be burned by it. It does not make the fire any less hot to pretend it will not burn you. Our society, and to an extent myself as well, is in the grip of a form of madness. I have never understood the innate compulsion people have to continue to do that which causes them pain and outright injury in slim hopes of a change or improvement in their condition. An example of this, and I'll show you many examples, this would be sending your child to a public school, which you know is ran by leftists, and then acting outraged they are being brainwashed by the teachers into a political ideology you disagree with. If you wanted a different result, you would not go scream at a parent-teacher conference to people who intentionally indoctrinate your children and demand change. You would instead withdraw your child from school and react violently against anybody that prevented you from doing so. This is one of the reasons we have gun rights in the United States. But people do not do that. They play a game of pretend. They indulge in madness. They screech at parent-teacher conferences, "Do not show my child nudity in books. Do not talk to my child about sexual things or the LGBT. Do not show my child LGBT literature." All the while forgetting that tyranny and predatory behavior is not within the realm of civil discourse. This is madness. Another example of this strange madness would be the way in which we work in America. We work ourselves to death. Many Americans will never be able to retire, and yet conversely those same Americans will say, "This is the best society ever. Capitalism is fantastic. Third world countries are terrible. Be happy you don't live in Saudi Arabia," or something. "America is the greatest nation on earth because I have gun rights and I can fight against tyranny if I need to." Not really understanding the irony of comparing yourself to a third world shithole, are you? I dare you to compare yourself to Norway, or Japan, or Germany, or any developed industrial country at all. You can't, because you know you're wrong, or you're too ignorant about these countries to know you're wrong, and pretend America is better with little to no information about the outside world. If only we keep working, if only I work harder, if only we do X, Y, and Z, we can afford shelter and medication in America. If I work harder, I'll get ahead. I have watched men and women alike work themselves to death and never get above the poverty line in this country. And people above the poverty line just turn and say, "Well, you just have to work harder. Yeah, I know the factories were shut down, but learn to code, you know? Like, why don't you just leave America if you don't like it?" Ironically, these same people's coding jobs are now being replaced by AI programs. Karma's kind of a cunt, isn't it? This is madness. Another example of this strange madness is the birthright argument on the right wing. Right-wing men will send their wives to work. Most women on the right wing work, but they are not provided maternity leave by the state or by many businesses. You see, men are fine with sharing patriarchal duties upon convenience, but still complain the women are not doing their duty or performing their roles as mother. The birth rate is low, white people are going to go extinct, but how many right-wing men do you know who have 2 jobs to keep their wife at home? Most do not. We know this is true. The madness is expecting women to go to work with their insides falling out after giving birth. The madness is expecting financially strapped families to have a stay-at-home mother. The madness of the Republican and right-wing sphere is telling women that relying on a husband is foolish when she is abandoned and fucked over, and when she works to support her family independently, scorning her for not being home with her children. This is madness. Another form of madness would be the LGBT. They claim you can transition your gender by cutting off functional, healthy body parts. I ask them why it's okay to cut off genitals and breasts that are healthy, but not an arm if a person thinks they do not need their arm. And the resounding silence tells me all I need to know. The only reasons doctors do not cut off the arms or legs of patients who believes their limbs are, not belonging to their body, well, the reason they don't do this as they do with trans patients' private parts, is because a worker without an arm, quite frankly, cannot raise the GDP this high, and they cannot pay for mutilating surgeries in the future. Somebody that's missing an arm or a leg cannot pay for more surgeries. They can't work. They're disabled. If you lose an arm or a leg because you believe you have a mental illness and you believe you don't need that arm, you can no longer pay the doctor more money. They get more money for cutting off your dick and your breasts. This is madness. Another form of madness in our country is, well, in our civilization really, is men expecting good, wholesome Christian wives as they fund $1 billion porn industry in America. Right-wing men consume porn as much as their left-wing counterparts. The majority of Protestant and Catholic preachers view pornography. They indulge Jezebel, cry that they are holy, and lament that they cannot have their just deserved waifu from God. Where is my trad waifu? The whore cannot exist peacefully in the society with the housewife. Eventually, the two archetypes destroy each other or turn upon the men and destroy them. Sin has consequence, and it is madness to pretend porn addiction is real. You're not going to die from porn withdrawals. Blue balls won't kill you, I promise. Calm down. It's not heroin, it's not alcohol, it's just sin, and you are in the grip of madness. In the grip of madness, we all lay. In the grip of madness, we all play. In the grip of madness, we gnash our teeth and we rage. None of this makes sense. None of this is good. None of this follows what we are meant to be. We are higher beings, and we know this, but we fear change. We fear the death of the old man and the renewal and birth of the new man. We fear changing the 5-day soul-sucking work week. We fear working fewer hours. We fear starvation. We fear defending our young. We fear homeschooling our kids. We fear being weak. We fear being mentally ill. We fear what will happen when we are old in a country that is not only insane, but heartless and cruel. We fear what will happen to us at our weakest moments because the fire still burns no matter how much we pretend it's cold and not really there next to you, burning you alive. In all true seriousness, the madness that attacks us is from our sin. We wish to be blameless. We wish to be spotless and clean and without any blemish on our soul. But a wise dragon that lived upon a mountain once posed a very poignant question to me when I went on a long journey in a faraway place from the imaginations of men. This great golden dragon with a missing horn gazed at me when I accused him of war crimes and cruelties in my youth and hypocrisy. Is it better to be born good, or to overcome your evil nature through great effort? Are you born good? Are any of us ever blameless and without a finger pointed at our backs? I believe that all of humanity has an evil nature they wish to quash. And sometimes we go mad denying that we are doing the morally wrong thing. When we are cowardly, we fear homeschooling. We fear admitting that we should work harder to support our wives. We fear acknowledging that there are developed countries like Germany which provide its mothers with maternity leave and medical care with an affordable cost. When we are cowards, we lie to ourselves. Our pride overcomes us and blinds us to true things. We play the victim and pretend we are addicted to our sins like pornography, and we stall our spiritual progress. We bring up verbal shields like America is the greatest place on earth, and make up lies about other countries that are clearly more functional as our people starve to death in tent cities on the fringes of society. Even as our nation empties of high-earning citizens, even as people exodus, everybody who can jump ship does so, we still deny that any of these things are our fault, that we have any responsibility. But the truth is, if you ever wonder why America is dying or dead, you need only look into the mirror to know the answer. 'Twas you and me that killed the maiden. 'Twas you and I that destroyed that which was pure and good in this world. It was you and me that destroyed all we valued and cast away good things. We knew better. We had the law. We lied. We stole. We cheated. We sought after and took over our elders and took sport of the sorrows of our brothers. We have gone mad. Who among you is without fault? Who among you men has not viewed pornography and aided in turning our nation's daughters into harlots and thus destroyed the family unit as a result? Denied advocating for maternity leave despite the state of impoverished mothers in your country, yet in a crazed way still complains about the lower birth rates. Jesus said you would always have the poor among you, yet you are proud and think you can deny the truth and build a capitalist utopia on earth with no poor or homeless. You're a fool. You have gone mad. To do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the core of the definition of madness. To deny the words of your God for a right-wing political ideology that helps you deny the reality around you will not stop what is coming. The fire will not be cold. The fire you touch will still burn you, sin will still destroy you, and madness will consume you if you do not face the truth of this world. And that truth is that every pain you feel is not the fault of God, but indeed the fault of humanity's sins. God did not hurt us. He just put us on a planet together and let us treat each other as we will. Know thyself. Is it better to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?
You call yourself a free spirit, a wild thing, and you're terrified somebody's going to stick you in a cage. Well, baby, you're already in that cage. You built it yourself. And it's not bounded on the west by Tulip, Texas, or on the east by Somaliland. It's wherever you go. Because no matter where you run, you just end up running into yourself.
Evolution on a planet I can't call mine. Wasting time in a complex universe. We walk in time, piece by piece. We take what we define. What's yours and what's mine? Complexity, living in society, walking alone through the sighs we see. We are individuals without beliefs, hypnotized from our degree. But one day I'll fly, I'll spread my wings, I'll show the whole world what I'm meant to be. I'm a human, I'm a goddamn living thing, but I'm not really human if I'm just existing, wasting my time in a complex universe, walking in time, piece by piece, barely alive on a planet I can't even call mine.
I just went back to work after an 18-month maternity leave, and here are the 3 things that surprised me the most about returning to work. So even after 8 hours of back-to-back online meetings, I still had so much more energy in the evenings compared to a full day of toddler parenting. Of course, this is going to depend on your job, but for me, toddler parenting was much more exhausting. I've also been so surprised that the goodbyes in the morning have been much harder on me than they've been on him. So far, we haven't had any major meltdowns, and he's been really resilient to the change. Whereas my emotions, on the other hand, have been all over the place. Lastly, I've been shocked with how much more connection time I've had with my son this week.
So, why does having parental leave make it cheaper and more affordable to raise your children in Germany? Well, because you don't have to pay for childcare that first 1 to 3 years of the child's life, and you can keep them at home where they're safer and safer from sicknesses, and you can be there with your child, both mother and father. Yeah, both. So that's going to greatly reduce your childcare costs in the beginning. I thought we would break down the parental leave a little bit, and this is what is so cool. And when we first moved here, I was just blown away by.
As someone who's given birth in Germany twice, here are the resources that were available to me almost completely free. Medical care throughout my pregnancy, delivery in a hospital, birthing center, or at home, parenting classes, an on-call home visit midwife during the last weeks, home care and domestic help when medically necessary, birth preparation classes, medical leave from work due to chronic illness caused by pregnancy like hyperemesis, 6 weeks of paid maternity leave before the birth, establishing a prearranged birth plan with my medical providers, and so many options for the delivery itself. I know there's more, but it's genuinely hard to remember everything. Everyone around the world should have these resources available.
Even the best job in the United States doesn't meet the bare minimum requirements for employment in Germany. If you work in the US, imagine your dream working benefits. Maybe you never have to work more than 40 hours per week. After a year, you have 3 weeks paid vacation, 6 weeks paid maternity leave, 3 weeks of sick days, and really good health insurance that you can afford. That wouldn't even meet the bare minimum in Germany. First, in Germany, there is no at-will employment. Every job has to have some kind of contract that can't just be terminated because your employer feels like it. There's a cap on working hours at 40 hours per week on average, a minimum of 20 days paid vacation, 6 weeks of sick days per year in a row. Maternity leave is fully paid 6 weeks before you give birth and 8 weeks after. And this doesn't even include the benefits we don't really even imagine in the States. Your employer has no right to contact you after working hours. 3 years parental leave. And a lot of the companies that are operating in the US are also operating in Germany just fine. The amount of pseudoscience and just complete BS that I have seen on this app lately has been... So here's what I'm doing on my page to combat that. I have a video reference list now that you all can just go click on, and it will have all of the references for all of my videos. Here's the name of the video, here's a link to the video, the names for all of my references, and the links to all of my references. Now you can go and you can double check my work. No, this is not my full-time job. I don't have to do this. Creators don't have to do this. But as a researcher, I just need my audience to know that I'm not just making stuff up like so many people seem to be doing.